Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Alex Winkler, and welcome to the weekly trade review number 15. Like always, I'm going to review my top trades and my biggest lessons from last week. I'm also going to be reviewing 3 ways to treat the current market consolidation that we're in right now. Then to wrap up, I'm just going to talk about a few things that's planned for next week. So there's all that and more, so make sure to stay tuned till the end. Alright, let's dive right in. So overall, last week was fairly slow. There wasn't really any good trades, and I think my best trade, if I really would have held it long, only would have gave me about $200 to $300 in profit, which is pretty small. It was about 2 to 3%. So as you can tell, there was really no volatility in the market last week, and for a day/swing trader, that's about as worse as it can get. Something I've already talked about in my morning watch list and the best ways to handle this market consolidation is be very selective with your entries. So one thing you can do is if you're looking for a longer swing trade and you're trying to get in ahead of time before a move, which isn't always recommended, and I'll tell you why in a second. But typically just go for find the best risk reward in that trade. So if you're looking for a breakdown and it's always hitting that high support area or resistance line, then maybe start getting some entries in over there. The next thing you should be looking for, which is much better because it's more of a confirmation and you're not playing a guessing game, is simply wait for a breakout or breakdown. So wait for the price to actually crack in one of the directions and then start building your positions. One of my favorite patterns, for example, is a breakdown bounce, especially in this short bear market, where basically there's a nice support level if it's in a channel, or if it's more of a ascending pattern. Anyway, there's a break of that support level, and then you wait for a bounce back to that level, and then you build your short position. So you're waiting more for a confirmation before you get into anything. The last thing, but definitely not the least, is just don't trade at all. A lot of times in this consolidation, it's really easy to get faked out. It happened to me last week, specifically 3 times. And overall, it's not really a good market for day trading or swing trading. So the best thing you can usually do in something like this is just work on that stuff that you've always wanted to work on. This is actually a blessing in disguise. You have plenty of time to do other things now. So it's always nice when there's a bit of consolidation in the market. Quickly to show you guys where I'm at, I started off the week. Sunday I had 2 trades, nothing crazy. Again, Monday, nothing crazy. And it just continued that throughout the week. So overall, I was down 99 bucks by the end of the week. Nothing crazy. It could have been worse if I kept on over trading, because really what this number is the commission cost. So overall, these were all just scratches, and the Bitfinex commission cost kind of ate me up in the end. So I can't really complain. I wasn't too active, but at the same time, I was trying to get ready for any sort of breakdown or breakout, but nothing really happened. So in the end, this week wasn't the greatest for me. There was really only one trade that I actually did okay on. BCH was one of my first shorts this week. As you can see here, I didn't take a picture of my normal trading view where I would, because for a trading view, I have Coinbase selected, and I could have just switched it to Bitfinex. But basically, if you're not aware, right here you can see the ticker. Let's say this is LTC, so Litecoin USD, but you can see I'm on the Coinbase exchange, and sometimes these exchanges, the numbers will vary quite often. Last week we had some issues with Tether, for example, and that created a massive spread between the difference of price from Bitcoin and other currencies on Bitfinex compared to Coinbase or Binance and those exchanges. So that's why I took a picture of the Bitfinex account. Anyway, you can see here I was building up my short position. Actually, this trade was pretty cool. BCH, here you can see on the 1 hour, there was a longer term support line here. So this is where I started building up my short. This is again on Coinbase, and I didn't really take it here, but basically this is where I got into my short. I did get out a bit too soon. It was right around this area before the second increase. So if I just kept holding, it would have been a better play, but ultimately the price didn't crash like I wanted to, and you never really know if the price is going to turn around really quickly. In the end, this was probably my best trade. This actually was profit-wise and percentage-wise my best trade of the week, which is pretty upsetting, but whatever. There's 2 trades I do want to bring to you guys' attention. They're probably the most important ones to talk about this week, and that's trade 174 and 175. One was a short and the other was actually a long, which I have not been doing too often. So I'll quickly dive into those. Basically, the first short was a ascending channel short, which I really do like. However, I did not wait for a breakdown and then a bounce. I was trying to guess the future a little bit and got in my short a bit too early. I was nicely profitable, around 50 bucks here for a little bit, but then you can see the price shot up. If I wanted to short this pattern, it would have been better to wait for an entry right around the top of the line. However, I thought we were already getting done with this sequence and getting ready to break down, bounce, and then continue a downwards trend. That wasn't really the case. And that really wasn't the case with any trade this week. Nothing really happened too much. Here again, you can kind of see what happened. This is the short I took before, and this is the exit. You can see the exit wasn't the best, but you never know if these things are going to run once they run. So risk management is always rule number one. There's nothing worse than just one big loss that ruins your whole week. So the next trade was actually long. There was a failed breakout here and then a constant downwards trend, and I actually had a really nice entry. However, this was already pretty late. I think it was around 1 o'clock when I was watching this in the morning, and I decided to go to bed. So I put my stop loss here, and I was waiting for a bit of a continuation to hold its highs and potentially break out from this level again. We did not really get that, and my stop loss ended up getting out at probably the worst spot. If I simply stuck to the initial rules, I did right here. This should have probably been a scalp trade, and if I did a scalp trade, I would have probably got out anywhere near the highs here, probably here near the double top of this very intraday thing. You can already see this is 5 minutes. So that would have been a better trade. Would have been a pretty small win, overall a scratch. The reason this trade is a pretty good lesson for everyone, including myself, is because I treated a day trade a bit more like a swing trade, and I held something overnight, which I definitely should have not done. Again, the best things to do in this market is simply let the trades come to you, and right here, this was a bit of a forced overnight hold. That's already almost it. There's a few more scalp trades. I call it scalp mania because this is kind of ridiculous. I typically don't have a week where I make so many small misses, small losses. I always say anything under 50 bucks is basically a scratch. It could have been a win, it could have been a loss. It really just depends. When I decided to say, enough of this trade, it's not going what I initially planned, so I'm going to get out. I'll quickly review some of those, starting off with LTC. This was a bounce. I was expecting a maybe potential first stare and a second breakout to this longer support line, but did not happen, got out pretty quickly. This was also on Coinbase, so I didn't pay any fees for that, which kept the loss pretty low. I also had a pretty small position size. Now, this short could have been pretty good. However, my entry was complete trash. I'm not going to lie. Basically, what I was looking at on a 15-minute was a small head and shoulders. Here's shoulder 1, head, and shoulder 2 was kind of working its way up here. I had my short entry position limit order right here, and it just didn't get executed. I chased it, kept chasing it, and then I was about 1% following this one, chasing it. And right as I go to exit my limit order position, because I'm thinking, my whole risk reward and the whole trade pattern is already kind of messed up, I actually get executed, and then I kind of ride it through all this nonsense, and in the end get out for a small gain. It never crashed like I wanted to, and by the time I got into this trade, I already drastically hurt my entry point. So my risk reward. So a good lesson here is do not chase a trade. If you missed your pattern that we were watching, even if it was watching it all day, accept it. It sucks. You missed opportunity, but don't worry. There's hundreds of opportunities more, and this is a perfect example. Even though this was a profitable trade, this was something that I held for quite some time and really took on a lot of market risk for not a lot of return. So not the best trading setup, and this is why I put it under the biggest lessons. The last trade I want to review with you guys was actually a support line bounce, a long position, which was pretty cool actually. However, the price crashed pretty hard. Right here, I was trying to get in near this former support level. Then we had the breakout from this level, and I was expecting kind of a support line to be here. However, there was for a while. I remember we kept bouncing up and down off this level for quite some time, and I was hoping for a little reversal, maybe even to the 202.50 area. Did not happen, crashed pretty heavily. My stop loss was just right around here, so I did not get executed, thankfully, and I simply rode it up here. And when it was having a lot of troubles breaking back up, I simply got out. As you can see, if I held it just a bit longer, I probably would have made a small profit. But in the end, plus or minus 30 bucks, it would have been a scratch, even if I sold at the optimal point. So yeah, overall, not the most exciting trades to review. It was a very slow week with not a lot of volatility. Hopefully this upcoming week we're going to see some big moves, but you just don't really know how much longer we're going to go sideways for. Basically, what's next? So the goals are the same. Right now, I'm trading with an account size of about $3,500 for my day trades and my swing trades. And again, I'm trying to build that up to around $10,000. A week like this doesn't help too much because I use most of the profits for making affiliate network payouts, which I actually made a video about not too long ago, so check that one out. I'll link it in this video. But basically the reason I want to start trading with a larger account size is because most weeks I'm doing pretty well, and if I just increased my account size, I would start easily hitting my $1,000 week goals. The last thing I want to touch on is the chart pattern library is just about finished. I have not made the index where I list all the different chart patterns. However, I have already got pretty far with documenting most of the chart patterns. So for example, we have the breakdown bounce short pattern, and soon these will all be indexed, but for now this is roughly how it's going to look. I'll have the textbook outlined with the description, my experience, ideal entry, ideal exits, and then you'll have more of a textbook picture. And then finally, you'll have all the real examples of this trade. So you can click on any one of these and see the documentation I have it, the pattern, the opening comments, the final reviews, and the pictures I have for that trade. So this is going to be a great resource for everyone that likes to really study their patterns and study from real examples and also get some theory behind your favorite chart patterns. Alright guys, that's everything for now. I hope next week we have a bit more action, but we'll see what happens. Good luck everyone and happy trading. Ciao ciao.